Alright designers, we're finally here, the OctaCore course. I've been waiting so long to dive deep on this with you, so let's get started. OctaCore is the framework that we're going to use to understand, organize, and optimize every area of our life. And it's not something that you're going to use like all these other online courses where you just use it for a small little sliver of your life. This is something that you can use for the rest of your life, and you're going to be able to use this to gain insights and deeper knowledge through every single piece of wisdom that you find in especially self-development books. Because the reason why I created this is not only to manage our projects, tasks, and areas and things like that, it's to make connections between the greatest lessons from these best-selling self-improvement books. So what we're going to cover in this mini course is learning about skill improvement and the maintenance baseline. We're going to learn the nuance behind the whole idea of living a balanced life. We're going to understand the trade-offs of focusing on everything at once versus specific intentions. We're going to learn the essential and elevating attributes of life. This is a really cool concept. And then we're going to understand the concept of seasons of life. And by the end of this course, you'll be able to set your own focus intention in the next minigame. Let's get straight into level 1, where we're going to learn a simple concept: skill improvement and our maintenance baseline. So in our first lesson, which is learning and improving new skills, think about how much time and effort it takes to learn how to ride a bike. There's so many new concepts and skills that you have to learn that it takes a lot of effort, as you can see here, to improve the baseline of our skill. And in the other example, we've got maintaining skills, because after we learn how to ride a bike, keeping that same skill is almost effortless. It only takes some practice time to time, as you can see here. This is the improved baseline on the right here that we got up to. And then it only takes us a little bit of effort to maintain this baseline, as you can see with this graph. And this is really similar to all the other skills that you build in life. Maintaining things are so much easier than building things. So let's go deeper and learn more about the maintenance baseline. This is the minimum amount of effort it takes to maintain our current level of skill. The more we raise our maintenance baseline, the less effort we need to maintain our skills. And this becomes important when trying to balance all the different areas of our lives. And the key takeaway that we can learn here is that there will be some areas of life that we need to leave at maintenance while we improve other. Let's dive into level 2 to learn more. And now we're going to redefine what balance in life even means. And with this new understanding, we're going to skyrocket our self-improvement. So what does a balanced life even mean? And this is the modern view of a balanced life. And it's extremely unrealistic. It means that all areas of our life are improving equally. And if you listen to the stories from these authors of these amazing books, that is a thing that none of these people have been able to do. Their lives are extremely unbalanced. And to understand this principle, we need to rewind. Because think about what you did for the first 1 to 2 years of your life. Pretty much nothing. And was it a waste of time though? Obviously not, because we understand that the time horizon of our development is so long. But the thing is, we forget this once we age, and we think that if we spend 1 to 2 years doing certain things, that it means that our life is unbalanced. So if we can see here, if we were to focus on things like gaming, spending time with family, our creativity that's not earning us money, or even relaxing, it will feel like our life is unbalanced if we did this over a period of 3 months, while we ignored or left at maintenance things like our fitness, work, money, and habits. But we'll learn from the next section that either way, it's unbalanced. Even if we flip our intentions and focus on these things, that means that these things are now unbalanced too. So it doesn't matter whether your intentions are good or bad, you still won't have a quote-unquote balanced life in this modern view of it. So let's go down and understand time perspective. Because if we zoom out the time horizon, we understand that the only thing that will give us balance in life is our perspective of time. So you can see that these two diagrams sit on the block of 6 months. If we spent 3 months focusing on these things and 3 months focusing on these things, as soon as we zoom out that time horizon, it becomes balanced in itself. And one thing that we need to understand is that there are so many different areas of life, and trying to improve them drastically all at once and thinking that you have to do this forever is absolutely setting up yourself for failure. And this example above can be the same for years and even decades. So imagine if this was 3 years of doing this, and then 3 years of doing this. If we expand our time horizon to 6 years, it is balanced. But this is a concept most people find really difficult to grasp because that time horizon is just so long. And these are lessons that I've learned from listening to the best podcast guests in one of my favorite podcasts, The Diary of a CEO, which is currently the #1 podcast for business and life and currently sits at 5 million plus subscribers. Hosted by Stephen Bartlett, the author of The Diary of a CEO book, and also Happy Sexy Millionaire. And the key thing that I've learned from the stories of these extremely successful people is that these people who build these companies worth millions have an extremely unbalanced life for 10 plus years. But they change that once they realize what's really important to them. This is one example of hundreds from the CEO of Airbnb. You might want to watch this later on YouTube, and while you listen to it, think of everything that you learned in this course, and it will extremely expand your depth of knowledge of how important these points are. But let's dive straight into level 3 and learn about the trade-offs between trying to improve everything versus setting a focus intention. All right, diving into level 3, now we'll understand the trade-off between improving everything and setting a focus intention. And I just want to make it clear that the goal of OctaCore and Life Game Design itself is not to tell you how you should live your life, it's to help you understand the differences between certain lifestyle choices so you can design a life on your own terms. So I'm going to quickly overview the diagrams of this next section, and then we're going to play this video by the author of Deep Work, Cal Newport, and so many other best-selling productivity books, and he's really going to exemplify the importance of setting a focus intention. So let's quickly learn what improving everything looks like. It looks like this. So these are all of our OctaCore attributes, and we try to incrementally improve everything at once. We spread all of our effort through all of these different attributes. But a focus intention looks like this. Instead of spreading ourselves thin, we just leave our other things at maintenance because we know how easy it is to leave things at maintenance, and then we skyrocket our improvement on these specific areas of life. I'm going to let you listen to Cal Newport's breakdown of this. Even though Cal Newport has no idea what OctaCore is, you'll see how specific it is to this framework and how powerful it is to gain insights from all these different authors and connect them all together.
I recently quit my job as a product manager in tech to find more meaning in my work and really just become self-employed. I have a few main areas that I want to grow in. Speaking of my interests, I'm just a super curious person, have a lot of hobbies as it is. So guitar, action sports, music making, photo, video. And all of these interests pull for my time and attention as well. So yeah, my key question is, how do you suggest I focus on a macro and micro scale to have progress in these multiple areas, which all feel important to me?
The issue is, if you're trying to make progress on all of those things at the same time, you will make meaningful progress on almost none of them. That's on my mind because I write about this actually in the slow productivity book we were talking about before. In my chapter on doing fewer things, I have a whole chapter section in that chapter about this reality, the relationship between effort and reward. We often incorrectly think about that as a linear function no matter what we spend our time on. So you sort of spend 10 hours working on things, you get 10 hours worth of reward. But that's not actually how it works. It tends to be more non-linear. So if you spend a lot of time on one thing, the reward you begin to get for that time takes off and gets bigger, 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 bigger. So you kind of have these moments, these discontinuities where the reward you get after you've really focused on something for a while really jumps up. That reward curve really jumps up. So the reality of this is, it is not the same to take a set pool of hours and split it among multiple things or put all that time onto one thing. You do not end up with the same reward in the end. If this function was simply linear, then spending 1 hour on 10 separate projects would give you the same reward as 10 hours on one project. So you might as well do the 10 separate projects because it's interesting, it keeps your options open, etc. But if it's not linear, which is what I argue is true, then putting 10 hours on one project could give you a massive reward, where putting 1 hour in each project might not get you much at all. All right, so that's kind of technical here, but it all leads to, I think, the obvious conclusion, which is you need to do less. Now that's scary because you're thinking, well, these things are important to me. There's different aspects of my life. There's different options I want to pursue. I can't just stop everything. So I'm going to give you a two-step process here. One, I do think you need to simplify, especially in that world of hobbies, etc. Like this is what you're going for in your professional life, and maybe outside of your professional life, you cut this down to two things, maybe three. Next, you want to have one point of major focus that is getting most of your time, and everything else you want to baseline. Baseline means you have some sort of maintenance ritual or habit, so it's not forgotten, but it's not getting much of your time. And most of your time is on one thing. So like professionally, maybe most of that time is going into the new website, Though I might recommend, that sounds like this UX, you need a job, right? You quit your job. So like if UX is going to be your career, that might be the thing you're really putting your time into, and you're just baselining the website. Let's put that on hold for now, or just make very small progress. I'm going all in on the UX design. Choose one thing and go all in on. You might, again, with your hobbies, have something similar. You have a background fitness routine, so you stay in shape for various action sports you're interested in, but you're not doing any training for those sports. And all of your hobby time is going into guitar. So like you baseline almost everything, and a very small number of things you put time into, because again, you put enough time into something, that's when you get these discontinuities, these big jumps in the rewards you get. And then once you focus on something for a while and have had a big jump in reward, then you can turn your attention to something else and do something similar for the next 6 months, the next year, the next 2 years, whatever it takes. So you have to simplify. And then even once you simplified, only one or two things should be getting any sort of serious attention at a time. That in the end is going to unlock way more reward than trying to keep switching back and forth really quickly. Baselining what's important, but putting huge energy into a small number of things at a time, that's the right formula.
So now you understand on a deeper level the differences between these two. Let's review what they both feel like. So improving everything feels like you're making incremental progress on all the attributes of life, but we don't feel a significant improvement. Maybe we don't have time to leave other attributes of maintenance, and that's okay. One of my best friends, Joseph, is currently in this situation. He's got a job, he's having a kid soon, he's moved house, he's got all of these responsibilities that he can't really leave at maintenance. And that means in this period of life, he can't really set a focus intention. He has to spread himself thin. And that's okay. If you are in that period of life, just know that you won't see a significant improvement in everything, but maybe that is the limit of what you're held responsible for. And in the other example, what it looks like when you have the ability and the privilege of leaving other things at maintenance is that you can set a focus intention. Now, you're going to have to deal with the sacrifice of leaving your other things at maintenance, and even maybe seeing them fall below maintenance and having a detriment on your life. But again, from these extremely successful people, because your time is so finite, you have to make this decision to be able to get a skyrocket of improvement. Otherwise, you'll be left driving around like everyone else. So I'm not saying you have to do either of these things. You just need to know the trade-off that you're making. Just like when you create character builds in a game, like in Skyrim, if you build a stealth archer, you're only really good at one thing and you're pretty much terrible at everything else. But if you have a warrior who's well balanced, you can do a whole bunch of things. And it's not to say one is better than the other, it's just how fulfilling you find doing both of those things. So now that we understand the differences between improving everything and a focus intention specific to OctaCore, let's learn about the essential and elevating attributes so we can get the most out of choosing which attributes would be the most fulfilling to focus on in the first place. So OctaCore over here is split into two groups of 4. Attributes that are essential to our fulfillment and attributes that are elevating to our fulfillment. And before we dive deeper into this framework, I just want to cover that most people will look at a framework like this and think, oh, it's just way too complicated. These people will try to find an oversimplified system that will limit their abilities to handle all of the areas of life. And just as Albert Einstein said, everything should be made as simple as possible, but not simpler. Because the thing is that you and I both know that life is inherently hard. And just like a complex game, we need a system to organize that complexity. Think about how nuanced and complex just a system in a single game is, and think about how complex literally life is. And you think that you can get away with simplifying life down into like 3 areas of life and be able to do as much? So just think about how complex a system like the skill tree system in Skyrim is, and how much it allows you to do, how much specificity it allows you in your character development. But now think about how you apply that to life. Think about the fact that most like self-improvement gurus tell you there are only 3 areas of life. And by doing that, they severely limit their audience to only living a life that is aligned to exactly what their specific values are, instead of allowing people to discover what their own values are. And this is what I mean by living a life by default. If you were to listen to me or anyone else about how you should live your life, then you're living a life by default. You need a system to help yourself live a life by design. And that's why I've created OctaCore. And I hope you know by now that there is so much nuance to this framework, and that's why I created a whole podcast where I review the achievements of all of my friends using the OctaCore framework, and we break down all those achievements and gain insights from those things to help them figure out what is fulfilling to them, and it helps them discover who they are as a person and motivates them to achieve more and more. You can check that out on my YouTube channel. I've got a dedicated playlist towards all of them. And to cover the inspiration that I got from making this in the first place, the whole point of OctaCore is that we want to distill life lessons from the best-selling self-help books and turn that information into intuitive knowledge that we can use to understand, organize, and optimize our lives. So these are some key books that were inspired by it, but there are hundreds more. But OctaCore is also not directly related to, but draws inspiration from the Infinity Stones from Marvel's MCU. This is kind of like the color coding. You can see that the Power Stone is strength, Time Stone is experience, and etc. And you can see that the names of these attributes are similar, but not identical in any way to the attribute system from Fallout. Please don't jump the gun about this inspiration and think like, oh, does this mean like I have to max all these stats or like I have to collect all of the Infinity Stones? This is not a cringe thing like that. To sum it up, life is not the game that you think it is. And if you think that way, then gamification in general has failed you. We use game design to inspire life, not inspire life by game design. Instead, we need to focus on what works for life by using the insights from these books instead of thinking what works in games. So in the next section, we're going to deep dive into these essential and elevating attributes. Okay, let's dive into level 4. And now we're going to do the true deep dive into OctaCore. OctaCore In Depth. But first I want to address, because maybe you're thinking, how will I remember all of this? And the thing is, you don't need to remember. Just like how we engage with games, the act of playing the game helps us both remember and learn. You will recognize the attributes by color as you add your own areas and projects to each category. So like we saw before, these are the essential attributes of life. Strength, which is your physical health, life force, which is your mental health, attachment, which is your family, close friends, and romance, and contribution, which is work and charity. And these are your elevating attributes: persistence, which is everything to do with life admin and environment design, experience, which is everything to do with friends and leisure, intelligence, which is everything to do with learning, finance, and planning, and all of your creative expressions and creativity. So before we learn about each, let's think about how life will feel working on the essential attributes. So over here, we can learn that working on these attributes will be the most rewarding as they are essential to human fulfillment. And it's not to say that the elevating attributes aren't important, because these will elevate your life, but they won't be as impactful as the essential. And here's something really cool that you could do for your own focus intention is use OctaCore Combos. What you can do is pair attributes to define your focus and purpose for the season of life. So if you combine strength and intelligence, it would look like focusing on improving your fitness to learn about the 3 main pillars of good physical health: sleep, nutrition, and exercise. There are so many more combos that you can do, and your OctaCore combo will be unique to your specific circumstances in life. So now let's learn in depth about each attribute over here, and all of these things are available in the mini guide. So if you were doing this by yourself, I wouldn't make you open every toggle to learn about everything, because you'll always be able to access this whenever you want, but let's go through it together for this course. So strength is everything to do with our physical health, and physical health is the foundation for power in all of our areas of life. Strength comes from nurturing our bodies through sleep, nutrition, and exercise, and this essential attribute will ensure we meet life's challenges with resilience and longevity. If we switch to persistence, we will learn that persistence is the design and maintenance of both our routines and our environments, and by designing our lives and sticking to routines, we can create efficiency to make the improvements of all our other attributes effortless. A lot of people ignore persistence as a life area, but it's such an elevating attribute. If we go into experience, another elevating attribute, we learn that it's dedicating time to what we love and finding rest. By exploring nature, traveling, and enjoying entertainment and socializing, we create breaks in our lives, just like game designers include rest periods between challenges. Now, a lot of people design their lives like a corporate business, and that's why they get burnout, because they don't schedule their leisure time. So for us to avoid that, we need to design our lives more like a game, but not this game where we're always just having fun and doing stupid things. It's an extremely hard game that we have to learn by experience to manage. And that's exactly what I'm trying to help you do with life game design. So let's go into creativity, another elevating attribute. This is about expressing our inner thoughts and interpreting the world around us by creating and engaging hobbies like art, music, and other forms. This fuels our passions and allows us to shape the world with our unique vision. A book that really heavily inspired this is called The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. Rick Rubin has helped the top artists in the music industry create masterpieces that millions of people enjoy. Moving on to contribution, which is an essential attribute. It is the value that we give to society that covers our living costs and is also what supports our community. Through work, charity, and volunteering, we enhance human flourishing, creating a legacy beyond our individual pursuit. And the thing is with contribution, there's going to be a lot of people who don't have a job that they currently feel is giving enough value to society. And I felt like this too. I worked in like a burger factory place for a while. And while I didn't really feel like it was meaningful, it's still something that I needed to do to pay for my living costs. So even if you don't have your like dream job, focusing on contribution and understanding that this is what allows you to focus on all your other attributes is something that is really freeing to understand. Moving on to intelligence, another elevating attribute. This enhances our understanding of the world through acquiring knowledge. Investing in education, planning, and continuous learning elevates our decision-making abilities, unlocking new perspectives and opportunities. In Stephen Bartlett's book, Diary of a CEO, he talks about the 5 buckets that we have to fill to live a successful life. And the first bucket he tells you to fill is your knowledge, because your knowledge is something that no one can ever take away from you. Moving on to attachment, which is one of the most essential attributes for human fulfillment. It is the deep connection that we share with family, close friends, romantic partners, and even companion animals. Nurturing these bonds forms the foundation of a fulfilling life, providing unity and contentment. There are a lot of self-improvement systems that will ignore the importance of these deep relationships. But if you look at the studies on longevity and fulfillment and happiness and even success, they all point to the importance of developing deep connections with people around us, because when we feel fulfilled from attachment, we're able to strive and do more with the inspiration of these people. And finally, we have life force, which I rank as the #1 essential attribute. It involves maintaining a healthy relationship with ourselves and adhering to our values. And practices like meditation, self-reflection, and spirituality can help us manage our emotions and enhance resilience and find purpose. And I love this because I have a bonus insight for you. This is the parent-child relationship that we have with ourselves. The most intuitive way to understand your relationship to yourself is that of a parent and a child. Our conscious mind, our parent, guides and controls the impulses of our subconscious mind. Once you understand this, you are going to see this everywhere. But this intuitively tells us why things like discipline, meditation, reflection, and so many more things are so important. And I want to cover a practical example with you, which is discipline. So if you think like discipline is doing what you need to do regardless of how you feel, and it's exactly like a parent who has to think about the future consequences of a child's actions, even when the child cannot see it themselves, and the child will even argue with the parent. And in real life, this feels like using your mental energy of your like conscious mind to control the impulses of your subconscious mind. Think about looking at a cookie that you really want to eat even though you're on a diet. Your subconscious mind would be like, I want to eat it, I want to eat it, I want to eat it. And you have to use your conscious mind, just like a parent, to stop that kid from eating it, because they're looking at the future while the kid is only looking at the immediate present. And this is exactly why parents end up learning so much about themselves when they have children. I'm going to cover so many more videos on this in the future, and I also really plan to write a book, because this has helped so many of my friends and even myself overcome so many problems that we find popping up within our mental health, especially in this modern era. And it's a framework that you can use without having to know about all these like complicated neuroscience principles or having to dive too deep into this like ooh-woo random spirituality stuff. And what I want you to do is think about and add your own OctaCore achievements. This will really solidify your understanding and also at the same time show yourself that undeniable stack of proof that you are the person that you say you are. Alright, so now that you've added your own OctaCore achievements, let's dive into level 5. And this is the last level. We're just going to learn the simple concept of seasons of life to wrap this up. Now, you'll notice that these icons are pretty much identical to the minigames icons, but think about the seasons of life represented by the shapes here. So you've got 1, which is January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, and October, November, December. The seasons are the same as the quarters of the year, and you can understand them by the numbers represented by these shapes. And what we can actually do is give ourselves seasons of life, so we can change our focus between seasons and make our improvements build up on each other. So for us, the seasons of life can be both figurative and literal. So for example, for one season of your life, you could say, I'm prioritizing on life force and I'm cutting off friends that are dragging me down. Or for season 1, which would be January, February, and March, you could say that you're focusing on intelligence and contribution and learning new skills and finding a new job. Down over here, I have an example to show you how to manage these different seasons. So imagine for season 1, you focus on strength, contribution, and intelligence, and you leave these other attributes at maintenance. Maybe this is for like 3 months. And then in the next season, you leave your season 1 focus at maintenance, and then you choose different attributes. You would choose creativity, attachment, and life force to focus on, and it would improve your baseline. So you could either make this decision to swap out these attributes, or you could keep your focus the same for these different seasons if that's something you would rather prefer. So let's think about what are the quote-unquote right attributes to focus on. And we need to understand that every decade, year, season, and month of your life, your priorities will change because your circumstances will change. And to be honest, there is no way that anyone can know enough about the context of your complex life to give you the right advice. As Steven Spielberg says, the delicate balance of mentoring someone is not creating them in your own image, but giving them the opportunity to create themselves. And what I've learned from the best mentors is that they don't give you the answers. They give you the tools to help you decide the big decisions using your own judgment. Because if you don't set a clear intention for the design of your own life, then it will be designed for you and you won't be proud of how it turns out. But using life game design, we're going to draw out a map of our life and build our own compass, because we want to go from living a life by default to a life by design. And that's the end of the OctaCore course, designers. Let's finish this up in the last page over here. So what you want to do right now is click this button to complete this course and see our achievement pop up from learning life game design. And now if we scroll to the bottom, we can see that OctaCore course is now in our achievements. And we are more than halfway through completing the learning of life game design. So now what we can do is unlock and start the focus intention minigame. Now that you've learned the nuance of OctaCore and the focus intention, now we can create our own one. So I'm going to show you these locked focus games. What you've got left is the focus intention game and the focus room. And so first I'm going to unlock the focus intention game, and that is going to be the next video in this series. So I'll see you designers there. Thank you guys so much for coming to this course, and let me know how you guys get on with using this philosophy and framework of both life game design and OctaCore, and let me know what you're seeing in terms of insights from all these other self-improvement influences, and see if you can make the connection of the advice that they give you through the lens of OctaCore, because you're going to see that everywhere now. I had so much fun with you guys. Thank you so much, and I'm going to see you in the focus intention game.